And this is why Lee's one-inch punch is so devastating. After pushing off the ground, his rapidly tightening muscle groups become the middle three balls, and his opponent becomes the last one. And the timing required to optimize this energy transfer is basically superhuman. Studies show the coordination and force on techniques like this are directly related to the amount of white matter in the brain. This tissue relays information between different cortical regions at speeds of more than 250 miles per hour. The more white matter in the brain, the better that info gets relayed. And while it's impossible to know how much white matter Lee possessed, this might help explain why most people, including elite athletes, just can't move like Bruce Lee. A flash of lightning, Lee could generate between 230 and 470 pounds of force. That's like taking a direct shot on a knee strike from a 185-pound UFC fighter. And the secret to Lee's technique starts with his stance. Check out how he aligns his body. His hips and shoulders are turned, which creates a direct path from his back foot into his target. And after he pushes off the ground with approximately 300 pounds of ground reaction force, Lee's muscles start to tighten up. Now, in a more typical punch, or even a quarterback's throwing motion, ground reaction force is used to help unwind the body around a pivot point. But in Lee's one-inch punch, his stance and contracting muscle groups ensure there is no pivot point. And like a Newton's cradle, transferring energy between its spheres, this maximizes the energy transfer from Lee's back foot to his fist. On a Newton's cradle, if there's too much space between the balls or they collide at different angles, energy is lost.
Bruce Lee's ultimate weapon wasn't just his fists, it was his mind. In real combat, Bruce didn't rely on brute force. He used strategy, speed, and precision. His true weapon was anticipation. He read his opponent's movements before they even started. Bruce used his quick reflexes and perfect timing to intercept attacks. He trained his mind and body to react in fractions of a second, making him unpredictable and unstoppable in real combat situations.
Standing on the mat, a few meters from the barriers, was the legendary Bruce Lee, his sparring partner, and several martial arts students whose eyes were filled with the same longing as the crowd. Lee, standing mere inches from his sparring partner, studied the scene like a true master. He knew what to do to make the crowd go wild. The chair on the stage was proof that he'd done this before, and definitely didn't want to hurt the sparring partner. Then, at just the right moment, he pushed out his fist, and down went the other guy, straight into the chair that had been perfectly placed to catch his fall. Imagine standing just 1 inch away from your opponent and delivering a strike so powerful it could knock him clean off the ground. It wasn't about the power, or the muscle mass, or the physical difference between Lee and his opponent. This was a skill that only a true martial artist could master, just like Lee did. The move is so incredible that if it wasn't recorded, no one would believe it.
Bruce Lee can really send people flying with one punch.
You've probably seen the footage, me standing just 1 inch away from a man, then sending him flying backwards with what appears to be just a tiny movement. The 1 inch punch. People called it superhuman strength. They were wrong. When I performed this demonstration at the Long Beach International Karate Championships, everyone wanted to know the secret. How could someone my size generate such explosive power? They thought I had discovered some hidden technique, some way to pack impossible strength into a single moment. But here's what they missed. The less strength I used, the more powerful the punch became. Think about that for a moment. Less strength, more power. It sounds impossible, doesn't it? But this is exactly where most martial artists, most people, fall into the trap. They try to muscle their way through life, forcing their will against the universe. They build walls of strength, only to be defeated by their own rigidity. Let me share something I've never told anyone about that demonstration. The first 100 times I practiced the 1-inch punch, I failed. Why? Because I was trying to be strong. I was doing what everyone does, tensing my muscles, trying to force power into that single inch of space. And it was useless. The breakthrough came when I stopped trying to be strong. Instead of tensing, I learned to relax completely. Instead of forcing power outward, I learned to let power flow through me. Like electricity through a wire, the less resistance, the more current flows. But here's the paradox that few are ready to face. To achieve this kind of power, you must first be willing to be completely powerless. You must empty your cup before it can be filled.